welcome to We the People. I'm Sarah Jacob. Moonlighting is in the news. It's been making headlines this week, and some of the headlines have not been flattering. No two timing. Read an internal email that the IT giant Infosys dashed off to its employees this week. Wipro, Infosys, Tata Consultancy Services or TCS, they've all come out to criticize the idea as unethical, as cheating. So what is moonlighting and why has it gotten under the skin of top IT firms? Well, moonlighting is, for those who've just joined this conversation or joined late, basically it is taking on assignments outside of one's regular day jobs or one's full-time permanent job. Some call it having a side hustle. But is this phenomena of discreetly taking on a second job in addition to your regular employment on the rise? Is it illegal? Is it unethical at least? And what does it mean for the future of work? Is moonlighting cheating or is the world of work past monogamy? Well, joining us on We the People tonight, K. Ganesh, serial entrepreneur, promoter of Big Basket, Portia Medical, Homelane Bluestone. We have Mohit Malik, CTO of Chios, Chokko Veliappa, founder and CEO of V Technologies, R. Chandrasekhar, chairman for the Center for the Digital Future. He's been former president of NASSCOM and secretary IT and Telecom Government of India. Rudra Chatterjee, managing director of the Luxmi Group, the chairman of the OBT Carpets, and we have Ankita Chawla, a content creator and marketing consultant, also joining us on We the People. So let's get right into it. Let's dive straight into it. The industry has been abuzz with the ethics of employees finding gainful employment in their downtime. Infosys has come out openly to call it unethical. IT giants Wipro, Infosys and IBM have warned employees against moonlighting. No two timing. Infosys warned its employees. Wipro's Rishad Premji has said that moonlighting is cheating. Plain and simple. TCS's CEO, IBM's South Asia MD and Infosys, they've called it unethical. Rudra Chatterjee, to you first. Where do you stand? Is moonlighting unethical? Why should employees not do this as long as it doesn't affect their performance in their primary job? Is that even possible?
Sarah, it's clearly if you are breaking a contract, if it's a breach of contract, it's unethical. But we have to just step back and see why is this happening today. We are working from home. There's a lot of technology. There's options of capable people who are ambitious, can do more than one thing.
Yeah.
And you see it in the contrast of working from home and the situation in the West where you basically quiet quitting and other forms. I'm encouraged by people who want to do two jobs at a time, and there has to be some kind of system that allows ambitious people to thrive. I think a lot of it is about the leadership. If I see capable people, I make sure that they have the stock options, and it is in their interest to work in a way that they have a stake in the benefit that the company is generating. And that will probably put a stop to it. Also, for the larger picture, moonlighting isn't always very bad for the company. It might be bad for the company, it's not very bad for the economy. The Apple computer, the Apple II, was a moonlighted product. Steve Wozniak developed it, while he was working in Hewlett Packard. So it's sometimes for the world, it's okay to have very hardworking, ambitious employees who want to set out on their own.
All right, so you admire these guys, but would you hire them? But Rudra, does this then lead to a conversation about job loyalty, employee satisfaction, the tightrope that companies must now walk between both of these, because in a post-pandemic world?
Absolutely, and it started much before the pandemic. The fact of the matter is the company towns, the 95 jobs, retiring and getting your golden wristwatch, those things, went away with the 1960s and 70s. Today, the whole notion of a firm, and what it does and how, employees and management engage is changing. There's a lot of reasons for it because, these are times where technology has, added competition. And there are many options that, many people who couldn't have thought that they can set out a business on their own or go and, have another job, which is physically remote, today has that option. So I think leadership has to bring that into, we cannot use the same management playbook that was used in the 1960s and just throw the rule book at the people who are, talking about moonlighting. We have to see as leaders, how do we engage and ensure that we are getting, and it's much more difficult to manage a workforce that is working from remote locations. It's, I think it's a good time for CEOs of companies to go back at the drawing board and say, how do I create a new organization where people are equally, entrenched and feel for the company. I don't think it's anything wrong with people. It is the discipline and the engagement that companies have created.
Okay, so you're saying that moonlighting has been around, it's for a long time, it's not a new phenomenon, it's only become mainstream after the pandemic. But like you're saying, it's not all black and white. There are companies who've also come out and support, basically saying, bring it on. You have the Tech Mahindra CEO saying, I welcome disruption. In August, you had Swiggy launching a moonlighting policy for employees. And fintech unicorn Cred has also encouraged employees to do these quote-unquote side hustles. But Mohit Malik, where do you stand on this?
To say for for a startup like ours, having a 12-hour or 14-hour of day-to-day work is the need of the hour. You cannot have things being done in 9 to 5 kind of a job and still be productive at your job. So when the expectation is that you spend around 12 to 14 hours in a day, then taking a side hustle would just not impact the current job, but also will impact the hustle as well. So for us, and since pandemic, all of a sudden we have seen surge in the IT sector, the technology sector, and people have been switching jobs left, right, and center. It has been very difficult for companies like us to retain talent, and retention of talent has come at a very high price. We are paying salaries as close to double of what we were paying pre-pandemic. Now, with such kind of an investment being done, companies like us, we would like people to go out and explore and learn things as long as they bring back those things and contribute to the company. But taking a side hustle in a competing environment with not being able to give your 100% in both the places is not what will take us forward. As in, you stay in the company, you align with the vision of the company. You ask for what exactly you need in the next 5 years and let the company facilitate it for you. And just for the sake of, some extra bucks or in the name of learning, but for the sake of extra bucks, you cannot go out there and compromise on both the companies. So that's my stand.
Okay, this is great. I'm glad we're getting both sides of this picture because, Rudra Chatterjee seemed to have been putting the blame on the onus on the management, right? It's up to the management now to fix this problem. This is a symptom of the malaise in our industries, etc. But if we're talking about ethics, let me look at what about ethics of employees. Let's remember what happened to Prashant Pithi's, right? His experience, the co-founder of Ease My Trip, his frustration was very clear this week because when he tweeted or he wrote a LinkedIn post, that's what all CEOs seem to be doing nowadays, LinkedIn posts. He is the co-founder of the online travel firm Ease My Trip. He shared a screenshot of a message sent to him in the morning from someone who was to join work that very same day. And in that, the person says if they decided they're not going to join after all because they've gotten another job offer. Mr. Pithi then tweeted that this was a hugely prevalent problem. Companies, he said, waste a lot of time and resources when a candidate drops out at the last minute. So, K. Ganesh, could you come in over here? You're a serial entrepreneur, right? Where do you stand on this issue? Because what happens then to, conflict of interest, intellectual property, data privacy, or just plain loyalty? How do you ensure a company's confidential or proprietary information is not being used in another assignment? I'm not even saying something like, under the table. I'm just saying things like one company invests in training and another company reaps the benefits without paying for this training. I'm not saying I'm selling office secrets to anyone else, but it's just more general casual stuff that does have an effect in the end.
Yeah, I think unfortunately the debate has got very serious because of using words like two-timing and cheating and all of that. The fact is the nature of work, the nature of contractual relationship between employer and employee, remote working and acceptability of remote working accelerated by the pandemic, all of that has changed working, place of work, type of work, the relationship between the two parties very clearly, and we have to acknowledge that. So instead of using strong words and taking extreme position, trying to realistically look at what is the right thing for both sides so that you are able to go forward constructively is important. For example, moonlighting is happening, is likely to happen. So is there a way for companies, instead of using extremely strong words, to say that this is what we expect out of you, this is okay as moonlighting, as long as it doesn't affect the work that you are doing here, it is not during this particular time, as long as it is not, like you mentioned, giving away the secrets or taking intellectual property or encouraging competition or hurting the company in any way. Under those boundaries, with the knowledge, not discreetly, not without knowledge of the company, can it be done? Something needs to work out. One. Second, also it depends a lot on, are you talking about blue collar worker, white collar worker? What kind of moonlighting are you talking about? Are you talking about exactly your domain, or moonlighting is being done in some other related areas which is not exactly the domain but your passion? If you are teaching, if you are doing art, if you are doing a podcast, or you are a travel blogger while working in an IT company, there is no connection whatsoever. So there are multiple facets of it. Prima facie, I agree, if there is a prime employer who has expected you to be employed during that time he would expect you to work and not moonlight, is the traditional way of looking at it. But today, the whole concept has changed. The employer-employee no longer talks about lifelong relationship. If the employer has got the right to fire the employee with 3 months notice period, and I'm not saying it's only the employer's fault, employee also leaves it like we have seen with 1 day notice or 3 days, or does not turn up on the appointed day is supposed to turn up. If that is the nature of the relationship, why are we going by within quote 9 to 5 job time and commitment during that time? Anyway, if the employee does not perform, either because he is distracted at work or he's taking 2 gigs and because of that he's too tired, he's not performing, the startup or the employer will anyway fire him. That's the nature, and vice versa. So I think my feeling is this is real. It has come into focus. So instead of taking extreme strong views and using those words, trying to sit down and decide for what functions, at what levels, at what kind of moonlighting, with what guidance. See, what Swiggy has done is great. What they have done is, instead of turning a blind eye or instead of using strong words, they have said, here is a policy. It's a brilliant idea, saying that these are the boundaries under which it's okay.
All right.
Beyond
so you're
these boundaries,
basically
it's not
saying
okay.
Employers in India have to recognize the writing on the wall instead of using strong words or strong arm technologies or tactics that would further alienate employees. But Mr. Veliappa, you're a 4th generation entrepreneur, right? Your family, I think, was involved with bringing one of the first IT companies to India. We all have to keep up with the times. Thanks to technology and because of the pandemic, remote work, contract work, home-based work, gig work, all of that has become normalized. This is the way of the future. This is moonlighting is going to be the norm going forward?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no, Sarah. So there's a huge opportunity available for people in India, especially in rural areas, because now work is coming into them. But where we need to see is you need to be in which boat are you? I mean, if you're employed and you're fully employed and your employment contract says that you cannot work anywhere, then that's the boat. But if you want to do a consultant type work, which is a gig, and India has been a huge proponent of that. Like if you take look at the unorganized sector, if you take carpenters, you take plumbers and all of them. So they've been moonlighting forever. So like you rightly said, it depends on intellectual property and those kind of things too. But which boat are you in? If you want to do multiple jobs, become a consultant, be open, because there are many project works coming out, not just from India, around the world. And we are talking at the time because it's a war on talent and there's a huge talent shortage. So, and then companies need to be fair to the customers too. So suddenly if an employee goes and then gets another job or something like that, they're blindsided. So that's the whole thing. So as long as you don't have conflict, and if you have a totally different job, like, like was mentioned a little while earlier, like, you're teaching in a job, and that could be part-time, you're teaching kids or whatever, or you're going and helping somebody in something else, which is totally outside, then it helps a lot. And the whole concept of all this is the legal laws too. So if our legal laws are firm for certain things, then it allows the floodgate for opening. Because, today we are forced certain of our employees are forced to work from office, and we do both. We do work from office and work from home. And a lot of companies are insisting to come back to office because of this, because they don't know if their employees are working on that project or not. So.
So this could actually have a fallout, because it could affect those, and there are many who would prefer, especially at a senior level post the pandemic. We've realized that, look, if I can work from home, why not? It allows me also to focus on my family, my kids, and if I can get the job done. But if there are those who are moonlighting, it could affect the other employees too. All right, so we've gone from employees being loyal to one organization throughout their career to now saying we want job satisfaction, job impact right from the get-go. Why is moonlighting more popular in this generation as opposed to, the loyalty of a single organization mindset that older generations practice? Let's bring in somebody from this generation. We have Ankita Chawla joining us. Ankita, thank you so much for being on We the People, because you have moonlighted in the past and you're proud of it.
Thank you for having me. Yes, I have been moonlighting in the past. I still am. A brief introduction. I am a content creator who goes by the name of Hustle Rani on Instagram. But I also have a 9-to-5 job. I'm in the social media business through and through. But one thing that I have to say about Gen Z, and I'm a proud representative of this generation. For those of you who don't know, Gen Z is anyone who's born from the year 1996 to the year 2005. This generation of fresh jobbers that have just joined the workforce, I have noticed them to be some of the most proactive individuals. So when it comes to tackling things like job loyalty and retaining the confidentiality of the trade secrets of that very company, I believe I would not doubt them on that front, just like I don't doubt myself. But this generation has a consistent thread of wanting to explore their passions outside of what their desk job offers them. I mean, let me put things into perspective. A generation that has had to sit at home for 2 years, a generation that saw 2 periods of recession, will not find working a government job till the year 50, 55 and then retiring and then just waiting for a pension. This generation has had at least 1,000 to 2,000 new videos on their fingertips in a span of 1 day. This generation has had access to so many options, which also is another concept called option paralysis, where you just can't choose. So it's never ever going to be satisfying just sticking to one desk job and thinking that it's going to make you happy and satisfied and keep your pockets filled forever. Because those needs, especially for Gen Z, have been growing, and with certain laws and regulations like IT companies coming in and red flagging, moonlighting is, I do feel, a slightly hindsighted decision, because it often needs, the country often needs talent that will in the end help the economy. Something that Mr. Ganesh also very rightly said, especially in the unorganized sector. You'll see a plumber who's also probably doing a dog walking service here in Bombay just to make the ends meet. And Gen Z as a generation, and not just Gen Z, in fact, millennials, has this very, very common sentiment in them, which actually makes them want to moonlight, is that my generation needs to make its own money, especially from families that do not come from generational wealth, and the internet actually telling
so basically flexibility is a currency everyone wants to be paid in, upgrading your skills, earning supplementary income, expanding networks, exercising the agency to choose the gigs they want to work on. So Mohit Malik, what do entrepreneurs like you do who are running, organizations that, on tight budgets and wanting to make profits, right? Like, what do you do in such an environment? Because, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat this, Ankita, because we've also heard some horrific stories. Many entrepreneurs who just say that this generation doesn't want to work. They have no work ethic. So, Mohit, Malik, what do you do when you're hiring? You heard what Ankita said. This is what this next generation wants.
So for us, you know, we are very firm believers of, you know, how, as in we have been working with freshers forever now. And, you know, for the last 3 years, we have been investing in fresh talent. You know, we start from the very third year of the college. We hire interns, put them through an internship program of 1 year, and then take them forward. So what we provide, one, is that we provide you with an option during your first year of internship to decide on what career path you need to take. That means we give them all options, which is one thing that they expect, that, you know, we want to explore ourselves as to what we need to do in future. So that's one option that we give. The second option that we give is that we give very competitive salaries when it comes to, you know, you being a fresher, because we don't want you to be left out, you know, in this scenario. The third basic thing that we do is that we put them through live projects, and then we tell them that, you know, there are ample of opportunities, learning opportunities out there. Go out there and explore them. We will sponsor those, and then you come back and start contributing to it. So when you get 1 year, good enough year, when you're not even college graduate.
No, but then are these young employees staying with you, or are they moving on? Are they still moonlighting despite all this?
So we have not seen, you know, as in there had been one-off instance of moonlighting. But what has happened is, with us giving them 1 year of exploring things, you know, people have joined us in software team, and they have become designers in a 1 year span. So when you give them those options, then it makes more sense for them to understand that, you know, what exactly we need, and then they can plan out their career. They can plan out their short-term goals, their long-term goals, and they can communicate back to us, and we can facilitate that. So we have been doing this extensively. We have been investing in freshers for almost 3-4 years now, and the results are amazing. People are sticking around, people are staying back, and they know that, you know, once they get the alignment with the company's goal and the vision, they get aligned to it, and they, you know, and then they find out avenues on how to contribute back to the company.
All right. So is it about management? Before I go to Ankita and ask her that, ask you again, Ankita, if it's enough, I want to bring in R. Chandrasekhar, Chairman, Center for the Digital Future, former President of NASSCOM, Secretary IT, Telecom, Government of India. You know, do corporates need to make peace with this new gig economy and the demands of the next generation, or does this put a question mark on the already tenuous relationship that we have between employers and employees?
Good evening, Sarah, to you and the viewers. I think the fact is that there is already been the mega trend of moving towards a gig economy because of technology, because of collaboration tools, because of remote working. And COVID has only fast forwarded that future where not only people had to work from home for 2 years, there is also a well-recognized reluctance to return to office, at least on a 100% basis.
Yeah.
All of this, I think, has brought this trend to the fore. And the fact is that, gig working is not something which is completely new. It's been there, not just in blue collar like plumbers, electricians, and so on. But in fact, even among white collar professions, there are certain kinds of, we don't call them moonlighting now, but there are additional work which is allowed. For example, an IIT professor is not only allowed, but encouraged to do some consulting. But of course, that has to be declared to the IIT, and there's a certain revenue sharing arrangement and so on. Senior officials of one company work on boards of other companies. So there are lots of situations where actually such additional work is encouraged. The difference between just gig work, which is the mega trend, and moonlighting is that in the case of moonlighting, there is a full-time contract between the employer and the employee.
Yeah.
And this has been a legacy arrangement between employers and employees. Obviously, under the pressure of the a mega trend of the gig economy, that relationship is getting redefined, and the legacy relationship is only very slowly adapting to this change. The question really is, I think, and that's where all these strong adjectives and epithets are sort of floating around, is does anyone support a clandestine arrangement where, you know, somebody is doing something but which is directly contrary to the terms of a contract that you have agreed upon, and which you have, you know, given the other side a reason to believe that you're going to abide by.
All right. Let's put that across. We're out of time. My last word to you, Ankita. Let me put that across to you. Is this clandestine? Did you come out openly to your boss? Is that what you would recommend everyone to do? Is that even realistic? And what about people like Mohit Malik and companies like Chayos who are investing so much in training and then, you know, young employees quit? They get up and they move on for all of the reasons that you pointed out are important to them right now.
To answer the question very briefly, something that I did right before I got hired for the job I'm currently doing is have a clear expectation setting with my employer, where like I got hired because of my social media, because of the work that I've been doing on social media of teaching and motivating people to go out and make video content, to start selling on Instagram, because it's a very well recognized revenue stream now. So I did tell my boss, aka my employer, that I will be loyal to this job and I will be devoting 8 hours every day, going overtime if something is urgent, but I will not stop doing what I have been doing outside of work, which is my secondary revenue stream. If we are on the same page, I'm happy to join the next day. And luckily we were on the same page, and I do believe the arrangement that I have vis-a-vis into 1,000 more people in the country is working pretty well, especially for people in corporates right now.
All right. Well, Ankita Chawla, we are glad that you found this equilibrium, and hopefully others will too. I'm talking about both employers and employees. Thank you all for joining us, to being part of this conversation, perhaps with the prevalence of remote working, of hybrid office structures in organizations that are becoming increasingly deliverable oriented. Perhaps moonlighting is the future of the modern workforce, but it has been crucial to have all of your voices, all of your views on this show. Thank you so much for joining us on Meet the People.